It's Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore here on CBS Sports. Golazo. Hansi Flick, tactical genius. Well, Barca are the Super Cup champions. Chris Wittyngham, Nico Cantor, ready to break down this epic era of Barcelona, who have just beat Real Madrid once again in the Spanish Super Cup. And Witty, Hansi Flick in finals is perfect.
Yeah, that's sort of the staggering number coming out of this, especially when you consider sometimes I think people assume that it is the manager that is more defensive that can win a one-off game, whereas Hansi Flick plays incredibly aggressive tactics, and yet here we are, 8 finals, 8 wins for him in charge of Barcelona, and of course of Bayern Munich. At Barcelona right now, they've already won 3 times against Real Madrid in finals, compared to 6 times in the previous 124 years of the club.
Pretty incredible. These are 2 Super Cups and the Copa del Rey, right? There are those finals against Barcelona. So halfway to history. Let's see how far Hansi Flick is going to stay at Barcelona in order to potentially get to this number. But one of the main reasons as to why Barcelona were so good were because of this man, Raphinha. If Hansi Flick didn't come, I would have left Barca. That's true. They were trying to sign Nico Williams, remember? Raphinha says he changed everything. He told me I was going to be important. This is what a player needs. Confidence, and Raphinha has it in abundance.
Yeah, and I think you remember a point for Raphinha at Barcelona where I think a lot of fans thought he wasn't Barcelona level. He wasn't good enough. I think this is the kind of Raphinha that we're talking about, where goals and assists per 90 has almost gone up 0.3 since Hansi Flick has taken over. Shots per 90 has gone up. Key passes per 90 has gone up. His Sofascore rating has gone up. He has improved dramatically, and I think you give a lot of credit to Hansi Flick for playing a little bit differently than Barcelona typically do. Under Xavi, it was much more of the tiki-taka possession base, and while they are still very good in possession, they're very good with the ball, they're much more aggressive.
Yeah.
They attack their opponents rather than trying to play through them. I think that has really suited his game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's ruthless. Meanwhile, these numbers haven't gone up that much. The one that I see a little bit more significance is the goals and assists. This is kind of like a relentless Barca, offensively more than anything else. And it just feels like when this guy leads the line, Barca has a different look and definitely a more offensive, aggressive feel to it.
I think you noticed it when he was gone for a portion of the early part of the season. I think they lacked that bite. Yes, they had some really good technical operators. Lamine Yamal also missed some periods as well. But I think Raphinha brings something that no one else in this Barcelona squad can.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep on looking at more numbers about this Barcelona team, and especially through Hansi Flick. He managed 86 games for Bayern and scored 255 goals. Very, very similar to where he is now at with Barcelona. And we're going to do a little bit of comparison between that Bayern team that ended up winning not only the Champions League, but every trophy available to them in that 1920 season, and Barcelona. The numbers are pretty comparable, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. We're comparing where those 2 teams were relative to the rest of the teams in that league. So you look at Barcelona right now, 2.85 goals per game. The average La Liga team only averages 1.5. The shots well above average, and also the shots inside the box as well. There is that ability attacking teams, and I think in some ways it's kind of funny that we're kind of starting this segment as Hansi Flick tactical genius, because how often are his tactics, particularly the high line, dissected as the thing that holds Barcelona back. This is the flip side of what his tactics do, which is they create numerous attacking moments. I didn't see a team last year that just relentlessly created and created and created. This is a big chances machine in Barcelona and obviously previously at Bayern Munich.
Yeah, and the conversion rate, of course, basically half of the chances that you create, you score, which is pretty incredible for both of these teams. I think the caveat that we also have to consider as we begin looking at all of these numbers for Bayern Munich, it is in the COVID season, especially in Champions League when it was a shortened season. And you could say that players and teams were in a different headspace in that year. So I just think for not only for football, but for all sports, there was an asterisk with that Bayern team, but you still have to get it done. And that Bayern team was ruthless, so much so they beat Barcelona 8-2 in the Champions League.
Yeah, and I think we still saw it, though, before the COVID pause from, I guess we'll call it August to March, when that Bayern team was sensational. But you're right. When you're playing single elimination Champions League on a neutral site in front of no crowd, that certainly is one of the considerations. But we talk about the high line. I think the offsides provoked number is one of the most important things that his teams do. They make it uncomfortable for the opponent. And also, I think in some ways we see a lot of La Liga teams only emphasizing those through balls in behind, knocking it into the space, try and get running behind that defense. And now you see that number go way up because this is the one tactic they use against them. It's almost 5 a game relative to the league average of being roughly 2 a game. You're doing it more and more often because I think teams are recognizing this is the way to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely kind of crazy. But
especially
also,
how much has gone up at Barcelona compared to where it even was at Bayern, which obviously was above average.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at these through balls allowed per game, only basically 1 for that Bayern team, where Barcelona does allow a little bit more. You play with a little bit more of that risk. I think if that number goes up, the bottom number goes up as well.
Yes.
So let's compare them to other great teams. On the y-axis, it's big chances created per game, and then on the bottom, the x-axis is goals per game. And you see both of his Bayern and Barca teams pretty fairly on the right-hand side. What's actually striking to me is that Company's Bayern from right now is almost all the way top right.
Yeah, I mean, they're ridiculous right now. We saw them score 8 goals at the weekend. But I think the interesting thing to me is how much further up they are relative to Pep's Manchester City. Because I think a lot of people talk about them as sort of the class of the Premier League and the class of this era in terms of attacking ability and attacking output. And here are Flick's teams even above that. And this is the one thing I think I mentioned earlier that gets ignored is, yes, there is an incredible risk. And we saw it in the Champions League semifinal with how they gave up chances and they gave up goals. But the return is you get incredibly entertaining, but also incredibly profitable football in terms of goal scoring. This team scores on a level that no one else in Europe can right now.
The one reason why I say they're so far ahead of Pep City is because all the competition since 2019, 2020, Pep City is one of the fewest, one of the managers that has been there for that long. It's difficult to maintain those high numbers for very long. All right, new graph. Possessions won in the attacking third, right? That's where you're winning the ball. And then at the bottom, we're going to invert. We're going from highest to least because we're looking for opposition touches per possession won. So when you lose the ball, how many touches does your opposition have before you win the ball back? It's a pressing metric. It's a very gegenpressing Red Bull-esque metric that we're looking at. And both of Flick's teams are very high on this list.
Yeah, I think the metric is commonly shorthand, passes per defensive action, PPDA. This is how the Red Bull teams, I've heard Jesse Marsch mention this, this is how they get graded. They get handed a report after every game and they say, how well did you press? This is the number that decides it. So no surprise, Flick's Bayern is all the way up at the top. And as you mentioned, I think there is it's a little bit more toothless in my mind, the Barcelona press. They still are very good at what they do. They still win the ball back a fair bit. But I think that Bayern team, I think the difference is, I think, the strength of the defenders. I think the Barcelona defenders, I don't think, are as strong as the Bayern defenders were. Particularly, Alphonso Davies was a machine going up and down that left side for Bayern in that time.
Yeah, shout out to Blessing at Genoa, who's now at St. Pauli, who is known for his pressing. All right, let's come over here and let's talk a little bit more about Hansi Flick and what he's doing and what he needs to do to be at the level of the Barcelona greats. I'm talking about the Guardiolas, the Luis Enriques, because obviously he's had his 4 titles that he's won already, but the big one is Champions League. And you look at these numbers. These are goals per game. Right now, this Barcelona is at 2.33 goals per game in the Champions League. Not great, but you know who has that number 1 position? It's Flick's Bayern Munich. Again, less amount of games. They have that 1 game against Barcelona that they won 8-2. But remember that Messi, Suarez, Neymar Barcelona team that won the Champions League in 2015? They were just a little bit over 2.33 goals per game. So it got us thinking, how would this Barcelona team do against that Bayern Munich team? This is the all-22. Bayern's 11 against Barca's 11. And I think the first shocking thing is that we don't have Lewandowski in the Barca 11, Chris.
Right. And I think that has to do with the number of minutes that he's played this season. Lewandowski's only played around 1,000 minutes this season. I think if you put Lewandowski at his best, he would absolutely fit in there. And it would kind of be interesting to cross-compare Lewandowski 6 years on. But yeah, actually, I look at this team, and as I said earlier, I prefer the Barcelona attack. I think from midfield on, obviously Thiago Alcantara is wonderful. I think Pedri adds so much in that midfield area. I think it really is the comparisons of the defense and the goalkeeper. Neuer, obviously, in his prime. Davies, Alaba, Boateng, Kimmich. That is a rock-solid back four. I just don't feel the same way about that Barcelona back four.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, and obviously this is interactive. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments what you think throughout the day on the Golazo Network's bunch of programming. We'll be answering a lot of the comments. So we're curious to see what you guys think. Personally, I'm going to take that Bayern team over this Barcelona team. I think in the back end production, they asked AI what they think the result is going to be. We'll let you know that in just 1 second, but I just see this Bayern team as ruthless. They'll kill you, they'll put you down. Not that this Barcelona team isn't, but the quality in Thiago, the way that he ran the show, the fullbacks were so good. Kimmich would invert, Davies would bomb forward. Kingsley Coman was in and out. Obviously, Perisic would play a lot as well, but he scored the game-winning goal in that Champions League final, and a more prime Lewandowski, if you will.
Yeah, well, obviously it's 6 years on from then, and Lewandowski is probably at the end of his prime club football career. But I don't know. I love this Barcelona team, though. The way that Lamine played at the weekend, I know he doesn't get involved in any of the goals or the assists, but just again dribbling at his opponents and weaving his way through everyone.
Yeah.
I just think he brings a dynamic that I'm not sure anyone in that Bayern team does.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe my tune will change come 5 months from now, but we'll see if this is the formula that will help Barcelona win the Champions League. So production, by the way, what do we have on that AI answer? 3-1 was the final result in favor of Bayern.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, no surprise that the nostalgia wins the day, but yeah, I think Barcelona, as I mentioned, that back four, it needs some work. It needs some work for Barca.
Yeah, so Hansi Flick is once again the Super Cup champion. Barcelona beating Real Madrid. Hey, thanks for watching this video from Numbers Don't Lie. Be sure to catch our show every Monday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And for news and insights from leagues all around the world, including Serie A, EFL, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.